Now this is the Noel. These are the ceramic angels. And we are going to flip these. This is came from an estate sale that I will help curate. And I'm going to update them and make them more of what people generally buy now. These is the way they originally came as bisque, and they have a finish on them. They're really beautiful. But no one's been interested in them as they are. So I'm going to try to age them up a little bit. Now what I did is I had originally put some wax on here. Then I decided, okay, let me try painting these with some chalk paint. So I did black on them. And as you can see, if you rub long enough, you can actually kind of get a bronzing effect on these by rubbing the chalk paint. And they really, truly just paint up really good. So I rubbed this in a little bit more. And just amazing how they turned out. Now, I'm going to add some glue and try to get a crackle effect with these. And I used my Waverly Chalk ink when I painted these. These would look great even if you just took some of the Gilder's wax, the patine, and probably put on it, or even some of the antique silver. And that is just gorgeous on there. So I had waxed the end, and I had used the patine on the black and the patine, and it looked good, but I thought it could do better. So I'm going to see if I can get a crackle effect on these. I don't know that it will work, but I'm sure going to give it a try. I have to spell it correctly. It'll drive me nuts if I don't. Okay, so let me get my glue on there. And I'm just going to use Elmer's School Glue is my PVA glue on these angels. It won't take a lot. Now I'm only doing a semi-thin layer. You have to be careful if you put the chalk paint on there because you'll move it and disturb it. So I'm just going to let that dry. It'll dry clear. I'm not doing the bottom at all. Now, I put the glue on there, and it did move some of the chalk paint. But once again, looking just beautiful. The more I do to them, the better they look. So now I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum Linen White chalk paint and go over it. So now that the glue's on there, as it dries, it will begin crackling. And we'll see what our results yield. I put the chalk paint on there and let it dry, and you can see some crackling, but I should have put the paint on thicker and probably would have got more crackle. But these have a lot of detail in them, and they're looking really good. So some of them did better than others. Now what I did, this one right here, I have taken my finger sander and I've just hit some of the top areas to take off some of it and just, get that to show through where it looks even more aged. And I'm liking it too. And between these two, I like this one that's got a little bit of sanding on it. I haven't done it really abrasive, and I've literally just hit the top of whatever's sticking out, and that sander hits it. And just kind of give it that little bit of distressing, not a whole lot, and they can handle it. I mean, these novelties, they can withstand the test of time. But I really like them. I like them even better now that I've done that. So they're looking really good. And I think I'm going to take the Patine by Gilder's paste wax, applying this, by hand, and see how that will look. Just hitting some of these areas and give it that look. I don't want it real heavy. I just want a little bit, like it's aged naturally. See what I get with that patining. And I'm just dragging my finger about. Now I'll buff that and calm it down a little bit. So let's see what we get when we buff it a little bit. There's just so many ways you can work this and really get it looking super old and aged and spiffy it up and bring it up to date with what everybody is liking these days. And it looks even better. The more, it's amazing, the more I do to them, the better they look. I'd like for that patine to be a little bit different color, but that is what it is. I might have to add something else to it, maybe a little bit of black to get me suited with it. I want it to look a little more aged, and you can mix those together. So what do you think? Which one do you like the best? Let me know. And I can see more of the black in this one too, now that I've buffed it a little bit. Patine one, or do you prefer the white rubbed one? I've gotten them all patined. They look incredible. On this one, I took a little bit of the Gilder's Rust, and I mean when I say just a little bit, and I just touched and buffed, and it really put that agey look on the edge in there. Just those little places that I hit. And like I said, it just seems like the more you do to them, the better they look. And by doing that, it really gives it an aged look. So I've only put it in those few places, and the rest of it I left as it was. I love the way that makes that react to the black. It really pulls it forward. You can tell that it's got the black in there. So that's 3 that's been done, and this one hasn't. And I'll tell you, I like these over here the best. So I went back and finished up the one, added some black in there, and the black is the Gilder's paste wax, and once again just touching in areas, buffing it with a cloth, and you can just see they look just amazing with the crackle and the patine and a little bit of the rust along with some black. And it really aged them up. You can see the details in them. Now these will also be available to purchase if you are really pleased with them and liking them. I only have the one set, but they are available and beautiful. You'll find them at DandelionSoap.com/shop. I'm very pleased with how they turned out, and I hope you are too. Please leave a comment and let me know what you think. Just those faces are just gorgeous on those angels. Just precious. Look at their face. And with them sitting down low like this, it's hard to see, but they really are lovely and just perfectly detailed. Okay, so I have some beautiful glass bottles in my inventory that I have been wanting to work on. And with these transfers I have out, I found this Santa with the reindeer, and I love that. And I think it looked great on this bottle. Now, once I get this transfer on, I don't really know which direction I'm going at this point, whether I'm going to put lights in it or do other things to it. And I questioned, should I paint this bottle before the transfer? But I think I'm just going to put the transfer and then go from there and see how it looks. This one's a rather big one. It is also in that packet, and what I will do is I want to make sure you can hold this up to the light and it will shine, and you can see where you want to position it, how far over, how far down, and get it right where you want it. You can also take and use some tape if you want to, because the transfers, these particular transfers, they are great quality, and they are on the level of a sticker. But I assure you, they are transfer. They will, if this hits it, it will pull off. If you try to do it too quickly, it will peel off the print that's underneath this. So you have a paper back, and then you have your sticky back that the transfer is stuck to. And so you want to be careful when handling it because you can get your paint to come off. So I'm probably going to have to do this off camera because I need to sit down and make sure that I roll that paper back. Now what I mean by rolling that paper back is once this touches, it's going to stick. So you got to make sure that you got it centered. And so I just folded part of it back so that once I get it into place, I can just slide it off, and then this piece will come off as well, and especially with the shape of this bottle. So I do know that the Santa head is going to sit over, and I'm just laying my paper in the halfway mark. I can go ahead and put Santa on there. He is the main thing about this particular transfer. Now, I'm not going to work so much on this side. Just get it to touch. And once it touches, you can let that plastic start coming up because it's beveled around that edge. And like I said, these are almost like a sticker. They do stick really good. And so I think these are a better quality. I had two different kinds that I have bought. And I do declare I believe this one is a lot better quality because when I was working with it earlier, when it touches, it stays. And you can go ahead and catch the edge of it, which let me just go ahead and get the whole transfer down. So make sure this does not touch back on to your transfer or it will take it up and tear it. And there we go. That is on there. And with the exception of going around this corner right here, which I probably could have, well, actually it's doing fine. See, I'm just pushing those air bubbles out. And that's a little piece like this. You could stick this back down if you want to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it because I think it looks just fine without it. And so that was the only place that I had a little bit of difficulty. Even down here, it's just as nice and laid down right into those little grooves without any problem. Further working on the bottle, I put some holly up here, and then I want to do some wreaths. I want to put wreaths around the reindeer, so I found this one that I can cut to fit, and then of course I found some bells. I always have to have my bells for the reindeer. And then this wreath I'm going to place right here, and this I'm going to put on the back, just a little something extra. And then I have another piece that I'll probably put up here somewhere around the bottle. This holly probably in the rear, but we'll play it out. So for the deer, this wreath, I'm not going to need a whole lot of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go at an angle here because I don't want to lose those berries. And I can already see that this half is probably going to be sufficient for the deer. And I may need the other piece as well. So I can utilize this to go here. It is a little bit broader than what I would like for the reindeer, so I might have to trim it off a tad. Best to go this way in trimming, and that's the great thing about these transfers is you can really play with them a little bit and get them just right. So I'll take, and I know that I can lay that over on this one, so I'll cut it in half and get it going on there where I'm wanting it, and then I'll know what I can put over top of it because I can lay them right over top of each other. And I just try to find me a spot that will allow me to take up the clear, and then I can pull it off. So now I can finesse that right there around my reindeer. And then if I don't want all of it to go on the reindeer right there, can hold that. And I'm going to just bend it back and let that piece go. And then I can put this piece here. And that looks not too shabby. It does have an edge, but I think it'll be fine. And then I can do the other reindeer. Make sure that's going to stay where I want it. And now that back part, or rather this reef right here, around that handle. And this should be pretty easy to do in half. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I'll put a cut in that. And that way when I get it up here around this bottle, now just making sure I get that air bubble out there. So I look better from the side. It just gives some kind of picture going on. Now there's me making a fuss over that. Okay, then the next part is that holly. I wanted to kind of put it up here. It may be too big. I may have to do something different. But I do have this leftover piece of the reef, and that would probably look cute right up here around this. So you have to be careful. You can tear them because they're just real thin between this film and the paper. That turned out better than I thought it would. Okay, so for the back here, I've got this pine, the poinsettia, and I'm trying to decide up the side since nothing else is accompanying it. Make sure I hit that just right in the center. And Santa could do with some gifts coming out the back, but I think just having the bell hanging off the side and the reindeer having some greenery around their neck is going to be plenty for this bottle. And you can just really dress them up. These make beautiful gifts. I can add some lights, or I can put some syrup in here. Maybe one of my nice vinegars or anything, and give it as a gift. This lid is cracked on this one, so if I added some lights in there and then maybe wrap something around this mouth so that it looks suitable, and maybe even add a bow or something, just something, add some lights in it to help it some way. I'm sure that you guys have often run across bells like this, or maybe you own some, and maybe they have a saying like this. So they just need a little bit of update. This is actually a Young's Incorporated, and so I have sanded the handle. It is actually wood, and you'll notice that the paint on these it will chip once you start sanding on it. So I've roughed it up to take the shine down. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and go and clean this bell real good and remove anything. And my plan is to put a transfer on this, a rub-on transfer, and of course paint the handle to bring it up to date. Just another idea of how you can flip some of the things you have at home. So I've gone through my package of transfers, and I love this little girl, and it will give it more of a vintage feel. So I'm going to try trimming her out. And over here is another package that matches what she has here. And here's a larger one. But I'm going to just tinker and see if I can get this one and this one to cover this area right here. In the meantime, I'm going to tape down that bell so it don't drive me nuts. So as you can see, the transfers on this look beautiful. And I put enough that it covered the wordage, and I added some extra just for that little touch of Christmas spirit. And it just looks so vintage and gorgeous. I'll be sure to put a link for these transfers. We had done these last year, and so now I'm using more of them. There's tons of them. So now I'll paint the handle. I want to show you a quick flip on the brush handle. When you use your scrubbing brush to wash your dishes, you can unscrew it when the bristles start breaking and use the handle. Now, my husband has kind of drilled this out with a paddle bit so that when I take this bell here, it will sit a little bit closer to the wood versus being up like this with just a notch. However, I'm going to paint this handle, and we're going to do a little bit finessing on the bell. It's beautiful like it is, but I think I may end up adding a little bit of some paint to make it look distressed, or maybe some wax. We'll see. First, I want to paint this handle, this Napa Red by Americana, and get it that beautiful red that I enjoy for Christmas. From dish brush to now a ringing loud bell for Merry Christmas or looking like Salvation Army. Pick red or green and make these 25 signs for your tier tray and your vignettes. Make great gifts too. Either way, repurpose what you have. Enjoy it. Merry Christmas. Till the next DIY, this is Elizabeth. I'll be crafting, y'all.